Who would have thought that I would join a sorority in college? Well, I sure did. In fact, I thought about this moment pretty frequently since I was in 7th grade. Today I'm going to tell you guys the story about how I joined a sorority and specifically the night of when I found out which sorority I would be in. Now, that is all I'm going to say for now because I don't want to spoil anything else. So, I knew I wanted to go to college at such a young age. In fact, when I was in about 6th and 7th grade, all I was worried about was tirelessly working to get straight A's, while every other middle schooler was worried about having a boyfriend or girlfriend or who they were going to play with on the playground. So, I've said that this is a blessing and a curse, but I definitely believe it has gotten me to where I am today. So, ever since I can remember, I've had one thought in mind: college. And now I'm here. Being in a sorority has been a dream of mine for as long as I can remember. Both of my parents were involved in Greek life, and they absolutely loved it. However, this never really influenced me. They never pressured me to join, but rather I just felt that it suited what I wanted, because I grew up at a really small school. In fact, I was at the same school for 14 years, and I had a graduating class of 14 people. So I always felt that I was really missing out on a big friend group, and I really, really wanted that. And so I felt a sorority would perfectly fit my needs. So also, I used to always meet my mom's sorority sisters, and I remember her always saying they were her bridesmaids and best friends for life and all of those things. And so I felt that would be perfect for me. However, all of these factors definitely put a lot of pressure and stress onto deciding the correct sorority and making sure that I would choose the right one for me. So you could say that I was really nervous for Rush, a lot more nervous than I even knew at the time. And prior to coming to Pepperdine, I did extensive research. And I really like to know what I'm getting myself into, and I really wanted to be prepared. So I read every blog, website, you name it, I definitely read it because I really needed to know what to expect. So I watched YouTube videos, I read online forums, and pretty much you could say I was a sorority professional when I came to Pepperdine. So I even researched all of the sororities' different colors and their crests. And this is a very important detail for what comes later in the story. Midnight, what I thought would be the biggest night of my life. And it definitely was, but not in the way I expected at all. So I was incredibly nervous, and I was so exhausted from Rush and from talking to people for days after days. And I hadn't really eaten that much that weekend either because I was so nervous. And as well, the night before, I had made the biggest decision in my life, and the toughest one for sure. So for someone as indecisive as I am, choosing a sorority was very difficult, especially because I committed to college a few hours before the deadline. So that night and the day after, I was looking for signs in my life to signify that I had made the correct decision with the sorority that I had chosen. So going into the night, I was definitely very nervous, and I was running completely on adrenaline. So, midnight, I enter the gymnasium to loud cheering and screaming, and the energy just fueled my anxiety and nervousness. I look to my right, and I see Delta Gamma waving and cheering and smiling at all of us. And then, directly across the way, I look to the left, and I see Kappa Kappa Gamma doing the same thing. Then we're instructed to file into the gym and sit on the floor in the center and wait for further instruction. So we sit and wait, and I'm huddled together with all of my friends, and we're all just nervous. My heart is pounding out of my chest, and we're just sitting there. We're then instructed to head to the front to receive our cards when they call our names. And so, of course, everyone immediately swarms to the front, and I'm kind of left in the back. So my friends and I had earlier agreed in the day that we were all going to wait until we got our cards to find out which sorority we were in, and then we were going to open them together. However, everyone was so nervous they were just opening their cards and running to their sororities. So eventually, a few of my friends stayed back with me, and we waited until I got my card. And I got my card almost last, which gave me even more anxiety about this night. So finally, we're all together, and we just do a quick 3, 2, 1 countdown, and we just open our cards and look at them. And so I quickly open my envelope, and I look at the crest, and I immediately run to Kappa Kappa Gamma. I text my mom, tell her that I'm in Kappa, and immediately she goes shopping online for merch, sweatshirts, and everything in between. So I run over to the group, and everyone's hugging and screaming, and I'm hugging everybody. And there's even a cameraman surrounding us to capture all of these moments. So eventually, after hugging everyone, I decide to take a picture of my card. Now, mind you, I hadn't actually taken my card out of the envelope because I was in such a hurry to get to my sorority because I was one of the last people, and also I was just so nervous. So I took my phone out of my pocket to take a picture of my card, and then as I was putting the card back in the envelope, I noticed something. I looked at the card, and it said the words Delta Gamma. Now, I had so much adrenaline in my body at this point that I couldn't even see straight. I didn't know what I was reading. I didn't know if that was reality. So I handed the card to my friend and I said, "Does this say Delta Gamma?" And she looks at me with a horrified look on her face and she goes, "Yes, yes, go, go." And she motions me over towards Delta Gamma across the way. Immediately, I just grab my envelope, I panic, and I sprint over to Delta Gamma. I'm one of the last people there. They're waiting for me with my backpack, my name tag, and everything. And everyone else was already there. They were asking me, "Where were you?" At this point, I was so overwhelmed, I literally could not speak words. I could not say anything. And so I made it for the last few group photos. And then eventually the energy kind of died down and we carried on our night. However, the adrenaline lasted into the next few days, and honestly, it lasted into the next few weeks. So, after not reading my bid card and then running to the wrong sorority, I have come to the realization that I often find myself in this constant frenzy of trying to complete one task to get to the next and ignoring the important details, which are actually the most important part, and just letting them slip by. So I have never really found value in details until this moment, and that is probably due to the fact that I have a long history of a lack of memory when it comes to details, specifically with reading. So I never really thought details were beneficial to me. However, after one time too many, I finally learned my lesson. So from now on, I read every email, every detail of every letter I get to make sure I don't miss out on a single detail. As the famous MMA fighter Georges St. Pierre once said, "When you pay attention to detail, the big picture will take care of itself." Thank you.
Big picture is hard to say, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute, we're not finished.
Am I still rolling?
No? Am I still rolling?
Yes.